Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be back here and actually getting an episode out, not just the trailer. Before I jump into today's Chat with Nat episode, I wanted to just share a few more thoughts on passion and why I wanted to do this podcast. I think back to my AP Art history teacher in high school and how passionate she was about her class and about teaching her students and helping us succeed and learn to love art history as she did. And if you went to Alta High School, you might remember the AP Art history teacher and just how much of a legend she was and how much everyone loved her class. So we loved the class because the teacher taught it with so much passion and she helped us develop a passion for it as well. And so many people went on to study art history in college, me included. That was my minor. Other people double majored in art history. It just became something we loved to learn about. And I think that came from her sharing her passion for it and how that passion translated into beautiful things in our lives. So I know that passion grows, and the more passionate someone is with anything, the easier it is for them to help others find that passion or be admired for their passion. It can also be the driving force to get us to accomplish more in our lives. As I interview more people coming up, we will get to hear them talk about these passions and how that has driven them to accomplish great things in their lives. So that's a little food for thought today. So now segueing into today's chat with Nat, something I know many of us are passionate in, whether we want to be or not, is dating, especially in Utah Valley and especially if you're single. So today we'll mainly just look into these Instagram polls I have done, as well as a poll I did at a dating panel with some young single adults. So we're just going to read through what people think about dating. And then in another segment, we will go through some dating resources and funny dating stories and even some dating advice. So there's a lot to unpack today. So first, this all kind of started with a poll I did on my Instagram. I kind of was just talking about dating and my thoughts and where I was at and what I was thinking, and I did some polls. So one of the polls was, do you think marriage success rates in Vineyard and surrounding cities is low? And by that I meant like people actually getting married, not lasting marriages, which that's probably low too, but most people said yes, like people aren't getting married, and that's changed in the last 5-10 years. So then I asked boys, what's holding you back? And I added a disclaimer. It's not just the boys, because I know I'm guilty of things too, and it's a two-way street. So I wanted to just read some of these responses of what might be holding the boys back, but this also is applicable to the girls. So some people said the responsibility is split 50-50. They're not where they want to be yet. They want to be their best selves. Past experiences of trying to ask a girl out and not getting respected by that. Knowing that every pretty girl has a million guys in her DMs to choose from. The fear of too many potential options, not knowing how to be content. Lots of guys say that. I think the same question could be posed to girls, and we just shut down too many great guys. Non-committal woman, finding a guy who's ready for marriage and what that includes. Ultimately, maybe they haven't set goals for dating or they're afraid of them. Boys are hesitant. So find men, not boys, is what someone said. We've been told to just go get married, but we don't really know how and what that looks like. Impediments to authenticity can affect real connection. Timing, lack of interest from the girls, looking at the wrong guys, finding someone who's being ready for marriage and ready to commit. And this is a big one. No one wants to pee in the pool. So, like, your friends dated so-and-so, and because of that, you won't date him. But, yeah, that's a problem. And then people are too shy, and people have lost the ability to ask others out, and too many options. So, there's so many factors that play into what might be holding us back from relationships, from trying to date and get out there. The next question I asked was, is marriage your goal? 95% of my followers said yes, and 5% said no. I think people want to get married, and I think that's a great goal. And it's sometimes just seems so hard. I mean, heartache after heartache, relationship that failed. Like, we all get to this point and we're like, is this ever going to happen? And it will. We'll talk about that in a minute, but we're going to keep going through some of these polls. The next question I asked was like, what dating questions do you have in general? A lot of people want to know how to get out of the friend zone. Someone said, is love real? And then I asked how often people go on dates. So like 1 to 2 times a week, 1 to 2 times a month. That was the highest one. 3 to 4 times a month was lower. And then people who don't go on dates tied with the 1 to 2 times a week. So not a lot of input there, or just not a lot of people actually dating. Then I asked why or why not do they go on dates. Some guy said it's hard to find girls he's interested in. It's fun to get to know new people. Boys don't ask me. All these dudes getting married after the mission, and I can't even get a girl to text me back. Everyone I ask declines a first date, just afraid. I really like girls. They're so fun, make life a blast. They only go on dates with people they're super interested in. They don't get asked out in the real world. If they're going on dates, it's because they're active on dating apps. That was a girl. Let's see. Money and time are hard constraints as sorry. Money and time are hard constraints on students, and a bad date wastes both. Girls make excuses not to come. Planning dates is so incredibly stressful. Really busy with work. Guys don't initiate, even on dating apps. I'm old school and want them to ask. That was from a girl. People don't ask. Another girl says, I don't get asked out, and there's not anyone I'm currently interested in asking out. Another girl said, guys don't ask. Another girl said, I don't get asked. And a guy said, hard to meet new people to take on dates. So, can you see the discrepancy here? Guys are having a hard time finding girls to date, and girls just aren't getting asked on dates. I'm pretty traditional, and I think the guy should ask the girl out. But with that being said, if you know me, I'm very bold, and I usually don't hesitate. If I think a guy's cute, I will ask him to maybe do something. So, I don't know. That's just my personal note. So, that was a lot of interesting responses. And then my last question was, what's the hardest part about dating? And I gave a few options. 53% goes to finding a natural deep connection. 18% was the other not putting in effort. 21% was people not committing. And 9% was dealing with heartache and past relationships. So, yeah, the finding a natural deep connection had 72 votes. And the people not committing had 28 votes. So, that can be hard for people. So, those are the polls for my Instagram story. I know there were many other comments and DMs that people sent in. And one of them I want to read from a friend. They said, boys that she's met are petrified by commitment because of the accompanying expectations surrounding marriage in like the greater Provo area. She said, it almost seems sometimes in this culture that deciding to date someone equals the expectation that you will marry that person, when it really doesn't have to be that extreme. And she doesn't think that fear should be an excuse to string girls along and never commit. And then she also added, really, it should be deciding to date someone equals committing to get to know them well and then figure out how you feel about them from there. But instead, what happens is that couples start to date here, they start getting questions immediately about marriage and from friends, acquaintances, and it can kind of add some pressure. So that was an interesting comment. There have been more. I have not been the best at keeping track of them, unfortunately, but I do have this other um I do have this other slight segment of polls that we did at a dating panel. So while I pull that up, there really is just so many feelings for dating. So now we're going to get some of my dating thoughts before I jump into this other poll results as I pull that up. So I feel like it ebbs and flows with what I think about dating and with how dating goes. So I feel like some people don't really have that urgency to commit to relationships and to try to get to know someone right now, which would propel marriage, but it's not. I think there's so many things that we're focusing on, which is great, but maybe dating hasn't been the number one. And then I think we are all maybe a little too comfortable and have too high of expectations, which is scary to think about because none of us want to settle, and I don't want any of us to settle. But I think at some point we have to realize what really is important. My cousin, uncle, relative always gives me dating advice, and he reminded me that like what really matters at the end of the day are up to you. But there are so many things that, in the grand scheme of things, in the big picture, that might be less applicable than you think. And then for me, I think the biggest thing is we all just want to find someone who we genuinely love being with and who genuinely just wants to be with us and listen to us and share and do fun things together and have that connection. I think connecting with others and having those special relationships is such a wonderful part of life. And I hope that as we learn more about dating and the ins and outs of it, we can all better be prepared for the future. And yeah, just some of the dating advice we've all heard before, just keep going and better yourself and put in some effort and things will work out. So here's some more fun polls that I will read and dissect real fast. So, in one word, describe your dating experience: annoying, dynamic, exquisite, fine, frustrating, horrifying, lame, long, non existent, uneventful, unsuccessful, vacant, wild. Our other poll was, how do you feel about the Vineyard dating scene? That's Vineyard, Utah. And it was a multiple choice question. And most people said, I'm surrounded by beautiful people. Few people said, there's people I could be interested in. And then one person said, no one stands out to me. And then we did an open ended question: what do you like about dating? A lot of people said flirting, learning about people's hobbies, the potential of vibing with someone and it going somewhere, meeting new people, Sky Miles points on card, kissing, hearing about people's life experiences, butterflies, a lot of opportunities to date and meet new people, the unknown, being pursued, having genuine connections, getting to know myself and others. It can be fun, it can be exciting to do new things. Another one for kissing, lasting memories, the thrill of possible trauma, and emotional connection. Then we took a poll on how often do you go on dates. We already talked about that. And then what are reasons you don't date? People have too high of expectations. People don't date, or people do date to find a wife. People they're interested in aren't interested in them. They don't feel like it because it's exhausting. Boys break my heart every time. Some dates don't respond when asked or they bail. They haven't met someone they're interested in. Not proving to be a great investment, losing time on heartbreak. Worried about being rejected. Recent breakup. People don't ask, don't get asked. Intimidating. It's if no one is social or outgoing. Provo All Stars. People don't say yes. I'm being serious. Not being excited about anyone. When they're feeling down, they don't. They like to vibe as friends. Never really works out. They need to work on themselves. Gas prices taking up their date budget. And just too busy. Dating takes too much oomph when they have other things they need to focus on. So then we took a poll on, are you frustrated with dating? And majority of the people said they don't love it, but they do it. And then that was equal with they enjoy dating. And a few people said it's the worst. A few people would rather not. Then we asked, what else are they frustrated with in dating? And a lot of people said girls think they're social media influencers. Emotional investment is exhausting, getting bailed on when he cancels last minute, lack of follow through, getting ready to find the right person and create a family. They're ready to move on from this teenager phase and on to being a parent. Ghosting and no commitment, high risk. Guys not putting in effort to get to know me, not getting asked out, getting led on is hard. Shallow people. People have too high expectations. Not being excited about anyone. They always want to commit after the third date. Everyone has people they're talking to. No one commits. People are flaky. The feeling that you don't have a good enough emotional connection with someone you're attracted to, or vice versa. there's only a few more, and then I'll talk about a few more things before this episode is over. We took a poll about being ghosted. Most people have been ghosted. And we took a poll about if the boys like when girls ask them out, and most of them said yes. And a few said maybe, and small few said no. This was a poll between like 20, 25 people, maybe 30. And then we asked if ladies enjoy being pursued or initiating dates, and they could go either way. And that was the conclusion of those polls from our dating panel. So there's a lot out there, and a lot of people have a lot of thoughts. I want to go back, and I'll post this on my Instagram, to when I did the first segment of dating poll questions on my Instagram, because there were a lot of really interesting thoughts, and a lot of people wanted to know the results. So hopefully what I just shared was the beginning of that, and you got a little bit more insight of why people aren't dating or what the issue would be with that. So, okay, to conclude this episode, I just wanted to talk about a few questions that were submitted in a dating panel we did. And those questions are: how do you transition a really good friend to dating? How to put in effort, and how to deal with rejection. Oh, and also how to let someone down easy. So, the first question, transitioning from good friends into dating. I think this is always a question on people's minds because it's a really scary thing to do, and you don't want to ruin friendships, right? Because I don't know, having friends is great, and having that person you can rely on and count on and talk to is such an important part of our lives. So if there's someone you're really good friends with and you want to see if it's possible to date them, I would say take like a gauge of how often you do things just you two versus in a group, and then maybe start suggesting doing things just the two of you. It doesn't have to be a flat out date, but see how that goes, maybe more one-on-one time. And then from there, get a feel and maybe do that a few times. And if nothing changes, then I would confront the situation and just ask them if there's a possibility. And let me tell you a story. So there was a guy and a girl in a young single adult church ward, and he really liked her. And I think she knew that. He would hang out with her and her roommates. They were all really good friends. He came to one of the roommates saying, "Hey, would she want to date me? Like, I want to go out with her so bad." And the roommate said, "Yeah, no, sorry. She's not interested." So he just kept being friends with them in group settings. They'd hang out, and she would hang out with him alone sometimes, just as good friends. Once took her on a walk and was like, "Hey, I really want to take you out." And she was just like, "Sorry, but no." And he handled it super well though, and he just said, "Okay, that's all right. We'll still just be good friends." So he continued to be friends, and like the whole next day she was like, "Wow, he handled that really well. Like he really will just still be my friend." And she's like, "Oh no, that's attractive." And then she was like, "Oh, wait. I might be into him." And so then she called him over and was like, "I will go out with you." And dot dot dot, they got married. So you really never know from these friendships what could come of it. And honestly, I think timing really does play a big difference, or timing does play a big part, because you really never know when people could feel something different. So I really liked that story. And sometimes you just have to try, and it's risky, but I think those risks are worthwhile. Okay, so the next question, how do you put in effort? I think effort looks different for everyone because some people are more introverted, some people are more extroverted, and effort can look different in those ways. But I think effort you can do personally is just continually to better yourself and create the life that you're happy living, and do things you enjoy, be with people you want to be with, who want to be with you as well. And as you do that, you can start to figure out if there's others you'd want to spend more time with, and then you start putting in that extra effort of maybe planning a one-on-one activity, a date, and going from there. And then how to deal with rejection. it's just part of life. Rejection is really hard. I feel like being bold, I like to believe I'm bold. um, I've like talked to guys before and been open about, hey, like, you want to do something? And I've been rejected many times. Sometimes it's annoying and it's like, oh, are you wanting something romantic? If so, then no. Like, I'm not into doing anything with you. And I'm like, oh, rude. But I'm grateful for their honesty. But I also think that, like, I think it's hard for me to talk about this because I'm not the guy asking girls out getting rejected. But like, usually when you ask someone out, they say yes, but then you can still wonder, oh, are they just doing that to be nice? Because if a guy asks me out and I say yes, I'm not doing it just because to be nice, but I do give guys just that one date just because you never know. And then the last question, how do you let someone down easy? So it's happened to me and I've had to do that to other people as well. I just think number one, be honest. And like if you're not feeling it after 3 dates, or I don't know how many dates your rule is, but just let them know. You don't need to go into details. You could say you're not feeling it, which is true, but that's just code word for there's something I'm not compatible with. And usually most people don't attach that to a certain aspect of what they are not compatible with, but just being honest and just being upfront saying, I don't see this going anywhere romantically. If you want to open the friend door, you can. Like I said, you never know when things could change. And then sometimes you just have to leave it at that and move on. So that's all I have on this episode right now. There's a lot more that I've been thinking about regarding dating, and I know you all probably have some thoughts as well. So I want to do a few more polls, and we'll do a part two dating segment. And in that one, we'll kind of dive into more of being helpful. I feel like this one was helpful because we got just an inside view of what it could be like for people and what it could be like for you. And then next time we'll kind of jump into, not next time, not next Tuesday, but the next dating segment. We will jump into some good resources as well as some funny dating stories because we have to enjoy the journey. And a lot of that is some pretty exciting dating stories. And with that being said, with those dating stories also comes like heartbreak stories. I know for me, going through heartbreak is so hard. And one of the things that has built me and shaped me, but also is like broken me down, which it's a hard place to be in. If you're there, I'm sorry and I feel for you. And if you need a hug or if you need ice cream, don't hesitate to reach out. Hopefully, you can connect with others to get you through it and find hope. Good luck dating. Try something new. Try to ask someone to do something fun with you and go from there. Hey, spread the light, light the passion. We'll see you next week.